Hi, everyone. Welcome to Montessori 101, where we believe 100% that every child deserves a Montessori education. I'm Aubrey Hargis.
And I'm David Hargis. So, welcome. If you're listening to us live, I see a bunch of you out there. Hello, hello. If you're joining the replay or you're listening to this as a podcast, we're just so happy to have you here with us. If you'd like to know more about our work, head over to our website. It's childoftheredwoods.com. And today, we've got a fun topic.
Yes, we're doing the linear calendar. This is actually, we consider it one of our Montessori essentials. So if you don't have one in your home yet, we are considering it an essential. So it might be something that you want to implement. After this episode, I really think that you will be inspired because every time David and I dig into one of our essential material topics, we certainly are inspired by the other, like reinvigorated with the Montessori goodness. So if you want to know what else is on that list, there's 21 essentials in total. You can go get your free copy of that list at childoftheredwoods.com/essentials. And it'll take you right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's dig in. Let's start. I thought this time it would be fun to just kind of get our way into the linear calendar by way of talking about the history of calendars.
Yes.
Which you likely know more than I do.
Well, I don't know about that, but
into history as you are.
Yeah.
It is something that we study in lower elementary, though.
For sure.
So let's kind of get into the mind frame, thinking about what is a calendar.
Yeah, like you said, we study it. We classify it under physical science because it's a part of the passage of time. So we put it within the idea of physical laws. But it's also a very humankind, which is another one of the 10 core subjects, because it is very much a human construct. So here in the US and in most places around the world, we use what's called the Gregorian calendar, and it's a solar calendar. So basically, we decide that the Earth goes around the Earth. Sorry, the Earth goes around the Sun once every 365 days. It's like actually 365.4 or something like that. But we can't do that math so precisely because of the way it works. So we break it into 12 months and we assign 28 to 31 days. You know what a month is. You know what a calendar is. This isn't the new information, right? It's been around since like the 1580s. 1582, the Pope said new calendar time, and it replaced the Julian calendar, which had been around since about 46 BC or BCE. And it's called the Julian calendar because it was attributed to Julius Caesar. So very, very old. So, of course, there are lots of other calendars from all over history and all over the currently used, even religious calendars, lunar-based calendars, all sorts of things. For older kids, it's a really, really fun project to explore different ways that humans have been marking time and continue to mark time. And what you're going to find, like I said, is that these are not just based on a solar observation. In fact, they're largely, even if they are scientifically derived, they are very, very influenced by culture. Again, one of the 10 core subjects is humankind. And so this is a perfect, when you study calendars, you're really getting to study a great blend of two key things, at least, right? The physical science, the physical laws and time and so forth, but also humankind and how those converge. It's a perfect Montessori, big picture, interdisciplinary concept. So, for example, do you know why we switched, or you know why they switched in Europe from the Gregorian to the Julian?
Is that something to do with leap year, right?
No.
No.
It is the season, actually, by coincidence. It is because of Easter. So we won't go into big church history here, but if you study any church history, you'll know that the date of Easter is an old argument. It goes way back to the very earliest church after the time of Christ, and continued to be argued about by many sects. And in the 1580s, it was determined that if we update the calendar, the Gregorian calendar, it would help settle this. So it's a way to mark the date. It's basically around conformity for the Easter, which is a moving holiday in the Christian calendar. And so there's a religious component, cultural component, but then it became ingrained into our broader culture. And so whether you are Christian or not Christian, Western European or not, it doesn't matter. You're probably going to come across the modern Gregorian calendar.
Yeah, makes sense that Easter, they would want Easter to kind of line up with the spring equinox.
Totally.
Because,
Absolutely.
the blossoming of the flowers and, the freshness of the days, the lengthening of the days.
Yeah, absolutely.
The time of rebirth and renewal, right?
Yeah. So, the calendar itself it's very useful, right? I don't know how often everybody uses it. I use my calendar basically every day. Just
multiple
calendars or kind of calendared to death.
Yeah.
And they're designed for efficiency, right? So, you think about this, there's lots of different kinds of calendars. Sometimes it's the quote a day or, comic a day calendar where you pull a page off, but most calendars are like a grid, right? And it's Monday through or Sunday through Monday or Monday through Sunday, depending.
Yeah, I like the Monday starting first because we've kind of culturally started our work
day, yeah, in the
Monday,
West here.
Right?
We start
think
on
of the
Monday,
weekend as like a tack on.
That's right. But the tradition, traditionally it started on Sunday. Again, they're religious for religious reasons, and so you've got it's a grid, right? 7 across, and then however many rows you need, 4 or 5, depending on the number of days.
Yep.
And it's very compact. It's super easy. You can look at it like, I see all the things that are coming up, but it's not really good at helping you if you understand how far away something is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes the linear calendar so cool, because basically what we're going to do is we're going to take that traditional grid with the boxes. We're going to cut the boxes out and we're going to lay them in a line, linear, right? Either it could be up or down or side to side or however you want to do it. But the goal is it's going to be real long and it's not going to be concise at all. It's not going to make like simplest view one check. Because what you're wanting to do is show children how time works.
Yeah.
Something super abstract, time. It helps it makes that concept more tangible.
Right.
So they're very cool.
They're very cool.
They're not super. It wouldn't be super great if we were trying to like manage your dentist's calendar. So like, when do I have my dental appointment? Like, and I'm looking at my linear calendar and I have to walk down to the other end of the hall. But they're super great for kids.
As you were talking about the construction of the calendar and just thinking about the abstract way we conceive of time, I was really struck thinking about what would life look like without a calendar at all. We would just really be, you would have a different concept of time, right?
You would
really be tuned into your environment. You wouldn't be waking up with an alarm or, just going somewhere because it's Wednesday.
That's right.
You would really be in tune with the seasons and with the lengthening of the days, the shortening of the days to kind of intuit.
That's right. Yeah. By happens, I've been rereading The Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
I was interested in.
Yeah. And we've been watching.
We started watching, so
watching it at the same time.
And it's interesting because in the movie, if you've seen the film, they're great films, right? And it really compresses the events, but it doesn't just compress the events; it compresses immense numbers of years. So in the book, Frodo is like 33, and then he doesn't even begin the quest till he's 50.
Yeah.
And so there's this immense passage of time. But this is because it's like a pastoral sense. In the modern sense, we really divide our time down to the microsecond, right? And scientists go down to the quantum level. And here in our everyday life, we tend to think about like units of 15 or units of 30. We schedule this from 1 to 1:30, right? It's a very definable block. But before calendars and watches and things like that were so pervasive in society, we did have a sense of time. It was just based on the seasons, the rotation of where the sun was in the sky, how cold or warm it was. So time is a passage and a concept, as depicted like in The Lord of the Rings, has always been with us. It's just we've become so driven by it.
Yeah, our oldest showed me a calendar. I don't know if he showed it to you, but showed me this calendar that's been floating around on the internet that it's like count off the number of days until you die. And it's basically like
sounds like something a teenager would think is amazing. It gets a lot less interesting when you get to the gray age,
right? But, I found it terrifying. But it basically is a whole poster, and it's like a way to check. It's like all of the weeks, so it's like you can check off all of the weeks every decade of your life, and then supposing that you reach 100 years old,
Yeah.
like that would be the end
Wow,
of
that'd be quite a life too.
that would be the end of the calendar. But there was something just really shocking about seeing it mathematically in one.
It's
poster
quality,
visual.
not quantity, friends. It's quantity. It's not
Right?
quantity. It's quality.
So yeah, that really made me want to just be like, oh, no more calendaring. I just want to wake up with the sun and go to sleep when it's dark and enjoy my life.
Yeah. So time and
Yeah.
this, I mean, obviously we're having fun with it. You could really go down a rabbit hole, so to speak. Like it's so interesting. Why do we have time, and how important is it, and what purpose does it serve, and how did we get people to agree on the same times and so forth? But so is that why it's Montessori? Is it this linear format? It's not particularly convenient. Why would you want to dedicate a big long part of a wall to putting one up?
Yeah, well, let's take a look at what one actually looks like. I have one here that I can show. This is one that we created for our Constellation program.
Yep.
So our Constellation members actually get a new one every single month along with our themes. But this is just a basic one. So, and you can see that it's just like, this is the one we created. There are different versions, but all of them will just be like a line of, boxes, or, it could be other things, but, it's just like a long line, and it's going to keep on going on.
This is to 16. So
it would keep on going on to the end of the month. So 28 days or 31 days, whatever. So you can see, like, if you put it, and you basically would tack it to the wall like this, down low where your child can see it. And then you would basically kind of be doing little math explorations with them. And this is most effective with your young children. So under age 6 are probably going to respond to the idea of a linear calendar the most. But older children would also actually, I think adults too also find it inspiring. What we're really doing is we are making the concept of a month, because this is 1 month up to like 31 days, really, really concrete.
That's right.
So children are much more less aware of time than we are as adults.
It's really hard.
They really do live in that, what I would consider like an ideal, like just flow of the rhythm of the sun and the waking and the sleeping.
They haven't been corrupted by our evil time machines.
Children don't feel rushed.
They don't.
Generally, unless we are the ones making them rush. And so in a way, introducing a linear calendar is one way that we can say, like, welcome to, adulthood. Yeah. Exactly. Adults are, and they're probably going to be aware of you being invested in your own calendar or your planner, however you judge, and use a time device to tell time, even your watch, or your phone, whatever it is that you use to organize your days. They'll already be kind of coming to be aware of that. And so this is just a really child-friendly way to introduce children to the concept of ordering and organizing and thinking about, this is today, say like, this is today and this is going to be tomorrow. So we're not there yet. And that was yesterday. And if you're marking the days, and the way we mark them in Constellation is with little images.
Yeah. So each month in Constellation is a different theme. And so for the 2022-2023 school year, we have our topics. And so this one was sun. That went with August. And so we made a whole bunch of little suns so that our members and their little ones could put them on here, as well as other things. Like they might put holidays on here or birthdays or grandma's coming to visit or whatever.
I know. One of our families is Jewish and would be putting Passover on
Passover's
there,
coming up.
Other
starts
kind
on the
of
1st,
whatever religious holidays you might celebrate.
That's right.
We also have a little the name of the month, that you can put above it. So this is just the one what we created. One of our families actually cuts off the numbers and makes a vertical linear calendar. So if you don't have the space on your wall, or you just don't want to dedicate all that much space to putting your linear calendar horizontally, you could do it vertically.
I think they do it on the door.
On the door, yeah, they put it on the back of the door, and have a little step stool so their children can go up there and reach it.
And it's the sky's the limit. If you want to just continue it around and have 365 boxes,
yes,
that could be fun.
You could.
Kids love giant work, especially kids going into that from that moving from the sensorial period to the abstract period, or as in moving for the first to the second plane. Those lower elementary age kids, they love gigantic big things. I mean, frankly, adults do too. I mean, it's fun. Just like oversized things are fun, and so they have a real sensitivity to it, though. And so it's a pretty simple thing to make. And just if you have the space to be able to line it up and let a kid see, like, oh, I remember all the way back here, and actually walking 1, 1, 1. This is a very nice way to help a child begin to internalize something incredibly abstract, which is the human constructed version of time.
Yeah. So you asked what was Montessori about it, or how does it fit into the Montessori curriculum? And there's actually a lot of ways that it does fit in. First thing is that we in Montessori, we're always trying to simplify things for our youngest children to understand. And so if we look at a traditional calendar grid, the numbers are all it might seem to kind of visually be mixed up. A young child and who doesn't know their numbers yet might have trouble making sense of them. Children are also working, but haven't yet acquired tracking skills, which means tracking is where you read a line and then you get to the end of the line and then you go back to the beginning of the next line, and then you read from left to right and then go back to the, so that is actually a skill that children have to learn how to do. And our youngest children aren't very good at it yet. No, they don't get good at it until they actually practice reading it a lot. And so this is something that we do practice when we were teaching our beginner readers, when they start reading little books, even when you're noticing, like you're reading picture books to your child, you probably are indicating like where you are on the page. And when they are reading along with you, maybe you'll be tracking your finger, and then you'll kind of show them where the word ends on that line and then where to go back, but training the eyes to go from the end of the line to the beginning of the next line is actually kind of difficult for them to learn how to do.
It is.
It's a brain skill that they have to learn. So when they look at a calendar, it just assumes that you can track. With your eyes, and also assumes that your numbers, which not all young children know all their numbers 1 through 31. That's a skill that they develop over time, so it assumes a lot of those things.
That's right.
So what we're doing is we're just simplifying it for the kids. It's easier to understand. So. As David mentioned, there are very specific ways that we do teach calendaring in Montessori, mostly in our lower elementary program. We do a lot of activities that lend themselves to teaching calendaring as a subject. It's like part of our history, explorations, and some of the things, and also physical science, as you mentioned. So we integrate grammar lessons along with it. We use fractions to show them how the 12 months break up into individual pieces.
You could use like a pie shape, and then
we can cut that pie shape into seasons, like quadrants, and then we can break it further.
Quarters can be broken into thirds.
Or break the year in half, right? There's a lot of ways that we can break up the year and think about those 365 days and how we could break it up into these calendar months.
Plus, thinking about yesterday, today, and tomorrow for older kids studying grammar and language.
Plus, we also use our golden beads. So thinking about even just the number 365, how do we divide that into 12 months? So all of these are specific lessons that we use with children who are ages 6 to 9, in our lower elementary program, although you could continue to teach those lessons.
It's a continuum, of course.
And you could teach some of them a little bit earlier too, but generally these abstract concepts of calendaring are best taught after age 6.
When they've entered into a period of time when they're receptive to abstract thinking, which
Yes.
developmentally happens around the age 6.
Yes. So, what are our primary children doing? Our primary children, who are about 2-ish to 6-ish, they are in the sensitive period for order. And you're going to probably be noticing this already because they are probably lining things up in their daily life. Like they may get out their Legos and you might notice that they are putting them all in a little line. Or maybe they're doing this with their dolls,
Toy
or toy cars. Yeah. You'll notice that children are just generally going to be doing this. You take a child outside, they're going to do it with rocks or with acorns or with blades of grass. If they are in this age group, that is the sensitivity for order revealing itself through a mathematical exploration.
Right.
So the linear calendar can definitely help with that. They're in that sensitive period for order. You're giving them something that is representing something that is linear and in orderly fashion, as opposed to this grid that looks kind of complicated and is
it
not
makes
linear.
sense for an adult.
Yeah. So that's kind of the background behind it. Our young children are also learning how to count. And this is actually more complicated than we think. We kind of think, oh, we just teach our children how to count their numbers and then they've got it. But it actually is much more complicated than that. It starts with something that we teach in the primary course in the math section, which is coming up, very, very soon for those of us who are in that course. But one-to-one correspondence, a little preview here, it is where you're gonna match something that goes with something else. All right. So you have one and you match it to another one. And so in this case, we could even just ignore the number 1 here. And we can think, I'm going to match this one sun to this one square. One sun, one square. All right. And after I do that, I got another sun. And I'm going to match it to this square. So one sun, one square, one sun, one square, one sun, one square, one sun, one square. That is one-to-one correspondence. And that actually comes first before children are actually aware of numbers at all. So in this case, that is something that you could teach with this linear calendar here, is if you just ignore the numbers, and just leave them to be environmental exposure. Child's exposed to them, but you're not really teaching lessons with them. And, you just focus on one square, or even if you don't even have to cover them up. You can just leave it here and your child is practicing this skill. You also, so your child also might be learning how to count. So being that there are numbers here on this linear calendar, it lends itself to you helping your child learn to count, because you're naturally going to be looking at these numbers and you're going to count the squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe your child can't recognize 6 yet. Doesn't matter. They're learning how to count the number of days. And if in the morning you sit down with this linear calendar and you practice that one-to-one correspondence, if that's where your child is at, or if you practice the counting, modeling counting for them, counting the squares, you're not worrying so much about the numbers, your child is going to have a stronger number sense right off the bat. And they are probably going to be looking at these numbers because they will be here. And then when you are teaching your child number recognition, which in Montessori, we generally tend to do using the 3-period lesson, like a separate lesson, then this will be, a moment of discovery. They'll be like, oh, I know the number 2 and I see it right here. And here it is again. And so some of our members say that even before their child knows all of these numbers, they're matching, like, ooh, this is a 2 and this matches it. It's a 2 and a 2, right? So you can kind of do that type of fun lesson with it.
Yeah, and if your child is coming and making that connection, then they're demonstrating the 3rd period, right? Which is they have an actual application level understanding of how to do it. So it's awesome.
Yeah. So they're associating the quantity of something with the numbers of something, and this all happens kind of through time and exposure. And it's lovely. It works really, really well. But this doesn't mean that you don't have to have that you might not have a regular calendar in your home at all, right?
No.
It's okay to have regular calendars along with a linear calendar.
Yeah, I mean, it's about the purpose, as is true in so much of life.
Yeah.
Maybe everything in life is about intent and purpose. And so the purpose of a linear calendar is to help visualize time in a more linear, visually compelling way,
Mhm.
right? It's long and time can feel long. Like
Mhm.
when's Christmas? How many times do you like over and over and over? We already get those questions, right?
Yeah.
Undoubtedly somebody's child out there is saying, how long until Christmas?
Yes,
You're
that
like,
is actually a time when most parents do implement some kind of linear calendar is like
right.
during Advent. Right.
Yes, an advent calendar. I was thinking that for
Mhm.
those of you who've used advent calendars, it's a similar kind of concept. Like you're revealing one number at a time, and it's just a beautiful way to demonstrate it. So, but for kids, like it's like, well, how far away is that? When is Easter? When is Passover? When is Christmas? When's
Mhm.
Grandma coming? And being able to lay out in this longer strip or vertically, if you wish, helps them start to perceive it. In addition to all the good stuff that you might be doing. That is the useful linear calendar.
Yeah.
It does not replace the use of a traditional regular grid type calendar, which is useful for us its purpose is to help us organize events and be able to see them quickly.
Yeah.
So the purpose is not to miss your dental cleaning, not to visualize how many days it is until Easter.
Right. Do you remember when we used to use we had just regular calendars in our home. Do you remember what we used to do with them?
No.
No, okay, just curious. So we
Pop quiz.
used, yeah, we used our regular monthly grid calendar to document our days.
Yeah.
And so I probably did this with the kids. And you probably noticed it on weekends. You know, we would talk about the things that we did.
Yes.
Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
coming
Okay.
back to mind?
Yeah.
So I would take control of that, and just like during our evening routine or maybe in the afternoon, we would just write down one thing that we did that day.
Yeah.
If it was, just anything that we might have done,
You went
it could just
outside,
be
or you
play with
read a
Legos
book,
or went to a museum, just like anything, grandma came to visit, so we used it more of a child-friendly form of documentation. Montessori, we do a lot of adult observing and documenting. The members of the primary course know that well. So we do that the first week
yeah,
of
it's an
class.
essential concept in
It is,
Montessori.
but it's also healthy for children to get to document their days as well. Totally. It's a good practice. They probably see you doing a lot of documenting. And so we use just a traditional monthly grid calendar to document our days. So maybe we even did it like thinking about what did we do yesterday? We would just like document, oh yeah, yesterday we did this. We would write that down on our traditional calendar, but the linear calendar really has a different purpose. It can be a springboard for thinking about those mathematical concepts in the primary years. It's also very rhythmic. So if you have been struggling with a little bit with the rhythm and routine of your days, it could be a great thing to implement. I know that our Constellation members love the linear calendars and they change them out every single month, and it's just part of like what their family does now. You check the weather, you see what the day is like, you talk about what to do today, you take a look at your linear calendar and you might address what day it is.
You might find this very familiar if you went to a traditional school or if your kids have gone or go to traditional school. It's a really common activity to calendaring in the lower elementary grades, and we just call it. A lot of times it'll just look like a great preschool too. That's true. It'll just look like a great big calendar. We're just telling you that
a grid calendar.
Yeah, the linear calendar is a name for it, and it's nice when you can stretch that out. So it's not like a super revolutionary concept, but it actually is really, really, really fun and helpful. So I think you've talked a lot about how to give these lessons. The only thing I would add to this is, I was thinking about the Advent calendar as well. It's just a nice routine to wake up and what are we going to do? Check the weather, maybe draw a little sun or a rain cloud, or maybe you have stickers to put on it. It's a way to get the child involved. And so that's kind of the key there. And you were telling a story about how you would go back and document something that happened. What we know about learning is that it is hypercritical that the learner, no matter the age, is involved, invested, contributing to the learning process. If they are not involved in that, it's not going to be as meaningful. You have to give a sense of autonomy and control to the learner. And one of the things a linear calendar or calendaring in general, but for the context of this one, for the little ones, a linear calendar does is it can give them a sense of control. So you can say on your linear calendar, today is the day we go to the library. What day should we go to the playground? Should it be today or tomorrow? And giving them some level of choice.
Mhm.
Oh, I want to do this lesson on frogs. Hmm. Let's draw a little frog or put this frog
Mhm.
sticker on Wednesday because
Right.
we're going to go to the forest on Wednesday and we can see some water. I wonder if we'll see some frogs. And you're involving them in that decision making. You're helping them visualize it. And even if it's as simple as, would you put the sticker on that square right there? You're kind of, depending on the age of the child, you're starting to involve them. It's very different
Mhm.
than when you just come to them and say, get dressed, we're going to the library, get dressed, we're going to
Right.
the woods. They have a sense of what's coming, and that sense of what's
Mhm.
coming is empowering. And as they get older, they're going to want to express themselves, and you're going to want to give them more choices. Like,
Right.
do you want to study frogs? How do you want to do this? Where should we go? As they get older and older and older, all the way up to adulthood. Because what we're trying to teach them is the sort of self-reliance and independence and confidence that's going to make them a successful adult and human in the world. And it starts with this kind of empowering that we give them as children. And this is, in addition, going to really help them learn these concepts better, because when they're invested in the learning, it sticks. And that is true for you as an adult as it is for the youngest child. It's just how the brain works.
Yeah. I would like to kind of close with a couple thoughts about how you could vary this linear calendar idea.
Mhm.
If you use it once and you're like, okay, what else can I do with it? We've given you one format that you can implement either vertically or horizontally. But say you want to have fun with this idea and kind of play around with it, you could make a linear calendar and chart the moon cycles
Yep,
on it.
that'd
That
be
would be a
fun.
super fun variation. I can even think like that would be so fun to do with black construction paper. If you
Yeah.
like cut out black construction paper, made your and you had like the regular, see, I'm getting all excited about it. When you had the regular calendar, this is why I love my job.
Yeah.
Got the regular calendar here, and then maybe underneath you're going to do a linear calendar as well.
You know
So
what I want to
you
do?
do a version in black construction
Go on.
paper, and then you use a white colored
Uh-huh.
pencil and you like chart the phases of the moon. Wouldn't that be fun?
Exactly. I was going to suggest that you cut the black paper into little circles so they're moon shaped, and then you go out and
Ooh.
observe and you just color in a little part of it so that you can go through the cycle. After 28 days, you'll have gone from the
You'll
new
have
to
gone,
full to
yeah,
back
every
again.
month it goes through that cycle. And I'll tell you, friends, if you can't see the moon a lot, we live here in San Francisco where there's a lot of fog at night. And
Yeah.
so sometimes we get to see the moon. Usually it's foggy, but,
Yeah.
but there are some great apps that actually show the phases of the moon. So I really like using that. I feel like it gives me, it kind of feels like, even if I can't see the moon's
Yeah.
phases, it gets me a little bit more in touch with it. And I could just click on like, what is the moon phase right now, and see like where it is going, and see how it's increasing or decreasing.
And this
So
opens up a whole avenue. So I want to just to highlight this. So let's say you do that. Let's say you have your linear calendar and you've got your little circles or however you want to do it, and they're drawing the moon phases. Depending on the age, you've now branched into a million topics. Like, why does the moon go from bright to
Mhm.
dark? What is the shadow? How does the earth make a shadow? Um, could it ever like not? Can everybody see the moon at the same time? What is it exactly about that makes the moon look like it has little dots or things on it,
Mhm.
craters and things like that? It just begins to, oh, why is it that the moon goes through a cycle every 28 days, but the month is 30 days? Like, how could
Mhm.
that be? How do we measure that? Why don't we measure it as 28 days? And for an older child, especially like a lower elementary and above, it can be just an immense rabbit hole of fun as
Mhm.
they sort of like, I want to know about the moon. And
Yeah.
it can start with something as basic as, I just want to like measure, let's count their days. How many days in this week? When are we going to come to this thing? And going through these additional projects can just open the mind. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what we want. And that's why Montessori is so powerful. It's fully interdisciplinary. This is not a lesson on calendars, or it's not a lesson on the moon, or it's not a reading lesson. It's all of those things, all of them together, because it's thematic. And it
Mhm.
starts with a real world thing. Let's work with our calendar.
Yeah, let's brainstorm a couple other ways that parents could do it,
Okay.
just for fun, like some fun variations.
We talked
So
about the weather.
talked about the weather. You can make a weather linear calendar. That would be really cool. That
And that would
way,
be fun over the seasons too, I
oh,
think.
it sure would, right? Like right
Yeah.
now, our youngest, it's raining today. It's like a rainy day.
So much rain here.
I know, and our kids are supposed to go camping tomorrow.
A very muddy
But
adventure.
I talked to my youngest. I was like, "Oh, it's raining again." And he said, "Wow, it seems like it's been like either rain, and then sun, and then rain, and then sun. Like it's
Mhm.
he's like, it's a pattern. There's some kind of pattern happening here. But if you had charted it, in the way that you might see the weather.com websites do, then it would be really cool to observe with your child. Like, is it really like 3 days of rain and 3 days of sun? Or is it like rain, sun, rain, sun?
Yeah.
You might be able to see some patterns kind of emerging depending on your area,
Totally.
your local weather. So that's a fun one. I was thinking, a very common one that happens around Advent that a lot of parents do is to make their linear calendar, or their Advent calendar, whatever they're going to do, a paper chain. So you can actually like make a little paper chain. I probably have some paper here I can show you that with.
Yeah.
So you're going to take, yeah, exactly. You're going to like make a circle, and then you're going to link it together. So you're making these links. All right. So if your child is not super aware of numbers, then this could be a perfectly fine linear, beginning linear calendar. And it would also, even if you just cut out a whole bunch of these strips in different construction paper colors, it could be really fun and colorful to string on your wall, as your growing linear calendar.
That's right.
Or to hang, you could hang it somehow from the ceiling, or I don't know. Like
my mind goes immediately to how many of your kids out there they would want to know, how long is it going to get?
Right?
Is it going to touch the bed?
Yes.
Is it going to touch the floor? Will it stretch from this wall to that wall?
I just had a fun idea. What if you did a different color every month?
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
And like January it was all blue, and then February was all red, and then you progress through the entire year. If you kept it up for the entire 365 days,
they'd have this beautiful paper.
It would
chain.
go all around your room, and or all around your child's room. And it could just be really, really fun to do.
Yeah, and so this is like
month,
a visual. You're again visualizing time, which is what the linear calendar is about.
Right. Yeah, so that could be really fun. On a kind of a more simple scale, I can see making a linear calendar out of objects, or what if you did Legos? What if what if like
your kids really into Legos?
Like what if you started off with one, or Duplos probably would work really well for this too. Like you started off with one Duplo, and every day you added one. Basically it's a linear calendar. You're stacking from bottom to top. Or you could lay it sideways and go sideways. Oh, we've got some comments.
Oh yeah.
Hi Sabina. Hi Libby. Lovely to see you both. Yeah.
Ah, cool. Yes. One link per day.
Yes. Oh, Libby says these chains are fun. It reminds me of the Thankful book.
Yeah.
She said with the Montessori classroom illustration. I remember that one with a girl who created one link per day. Yes, it is a Montessori concept.
That's
and it's
right.
a great one. So if you guys have ideas for more linear calendars, I would love to hear them. Tag us on Instagram at Child of the Redwoods. Or if you have a linear calendar you would love to share with us.
That's
David and I really love seeing the pictures of your kids doing this Montessori work. We love it. But this is where we're going to wrap up for the day. So in essence, in summation, it's a great addition for your home. They're easy to make. They're easy to maintain. They can really increase the flow of your rhythm. If your rhythm is struggling in the morning, start with a linear calendar. And you can teach math at the same time.
Yeah.
So if you don't have one, give it a try.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up there. I love this topic. This was a fun one. It's so creative. If you enjoyed this, thank you so much for being here. Leave a comment if you have questions, or you can email us at hello@childoftheredwoods.com. You can also see past episodes here on YouTube or as a podcast over on our website. And we'll be back in a week with another episode. You know what this one's going to be about?
I don't.
Oh. It's a Montessori, real life Montessori adventures featuring our awesome member, Stacy. So that is going to be next Tuesday. We hope that you are there. And thank you all so much for joining us and sharing your comments. It was a pleasure.
Yep, same. All right, take care, everyone.